Hey guys, it's Scott with Scottie Cards, and in this video I want to talk all about Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando Tatis Jr. was just busted with a PED suspension. We have not seen a PED suspension for a superstar like this probably since Alex Rodriguez. We had the Robinson Cano suspension as well, which is a really big deal, but this has a major impact on the baseball card market in particular. For Major League Baseball, yes, there's an impact, but for us as collectors in our hobby, this is a big blow to a lot of collectors. So Fernando Tatis Jr. has been out the whole year so far due to a motorcycle crash in the offseason, and he's about to rehab and get back to the actual big league club, and then he got busted for PEDs, and he's now out 80 games all this postseason, and he'll be out 40 games of the next season as well, just because it happened at the end of this year for that 80-game suspension. So that makes us wonder, what happens to his baseball cards? What is going to happen to all the cards we spent thousands of dollars on? And the truth of the matter is, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. The way that the current Hall of Fame voting system is going is they're shunning Hall of Famers. We saw that with Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and a bunch of everybody not as good as them. Barry Bonds is one of the best players of all time, probably top 3. I could see people arguing 1 or 2 with Babe Ruth. And for that reason, I think that we should be concerned about Tatis' values moving forward. But that's not to say, let's say Tatis doesn't have any other issues the rest of his career. Hall of Fame voters change the way they vote in 20 years when he's eligible, 30 years when he's eligible. Who knows what will happen? The negative thing though is that's a lot of speculation, and we know right now there's a drastic decline for baseball players' cards when this happens. Like I said, we saw it with Robinson Cano, one of the best second basemen ever, played for the Yankees, played for the Mariners, now the Mets, and he's been busted for PEDs twice, and he even claimed, just like Tatis, that it wasn't intentional. It was because of a drug he took and he didn't realize it was in there, which I will never understand. If you're making that much money, you need to know what's in your drugs. Just ask a doctor. You have enough money to ask your doctor. But either way, his Bowman Heritage rookie card is only worth $65. So they're not worth anything. And that's partially because he's viewed as not as a favorable person. And Tatis is kind of getting that label right now, whether it is fair or not. So it's a very rough situation. If you look at Barry Bonds even, his PSA 10 1986 Topps Traded Tiffany rookie card, which is one of his very best rookie cards, probably the premier. It's like the Sapphire and much harder to grade. This card is going for about $10,000. So it just shows even an all-time great, literally all-time great, something that sometimes that's tossed around really openly, but a literal all-time great in Barry Bonds is having value issues for his cards. And that's partially what makes me super concerned about Tatis cards. I got lucky. I don't have any Tatis cards. I have Soto cards, and that's really the only modern player I have. For ultra modern, that is, I have Mookie, Trout, Greinke, Scherzer, all those other guys, Paul Goldschmidt in that era. But for ultra modern, I don't have anybody, and if it would have been Soto, I would have been pretty devastated, even as a fan. It's kind of just like takes the wind out of your sails a little bit. Also stinks for the Padres, who have traded for Juan Soto, traded the whole farm, so they have a good run for the next 2-3 years, and now this is a big blow to them as well. So it makes you wonder, will Padres fans forgive him? If they do not, then that means his cards will not have that hometown value like they've currently had. And for sports card investors who are looking at it as a pure investment, they probably won't be touching the cards as well. So what should you do if you have Tatis cards? The truth is, that's completely up to you. I can't predict the future, what will happen value-wise. If Tatis has a Barry Bonds type career and wins 7 MVPs somehow, his cards will still have value. But if he doesn't, it might be more of an Alex Rodriguez, who still has a lot of value. But in comparison to the actual leader for value of that era, Derek Jeter, his cards just aren't worth much in comparison to Derek Jeter. Some still have value, just like Tatis will, but overall, Alex Rodriguez is still one of the best players of all time at his position as well. So very tough news for modern sports card collectors. I do want to hit one thing. This is the risks of modern sports card collecting. We've seen things happen with injuries and things like that, but not PEDs for a while. So I want to remind you, if you collect prospects, if you collect modern players, this is a risk you need to understand as you're spending $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on these cards. And if you're like me and can't spend that much money, if you're spending a couple $100s on these cards, you need to make sure you're okay with the level of risk you're taking. You can look at Mike Trout and just see him. He's out again probably for the year. He might come back. He's taking dry swings, actually hitting off of a tee. So he could be coming back, but it wouldn't surprise me if they just shut him down. I think he wants to prove to everybody it's not a career-ending injury like the media reported at first. But either way, there's a risk of a career-altering injury for Mike Trout. Another modern player who everybody said is on like a Hall of Fame GOAT career. He is in the Hall of Fame path right now. I think he'll get in the Hall of Fame no matter what happens at this point, because his peak the last 7, 8, 9 years was so strong. But either way, there is inherent risk with modern cards because we cannot predict the future. Heaven forbid there is an issue like Jose Fernandez, who passed away tragically, or steroid issues, or injury issues, You just need to make sure you're taking this in consideration when you're buying cards. If that means you're more comfortable with vintage, so be it. I think a lot of people should collect some vintage in their collection, have a good spread, enjoy that aspect of the history of the game. But if you're like me, you like being attached to the modern players. You like watching them every single night. It gives you a reason to watch every at-bat of Mookie Betts or Paul Goldschmidt, even though for most people they wouldn't do that. It's because of those sports cards. And for that reason, you can make money in modern, in vintage, in ultra modern, whatever section or segment of the hobby you want to collect, you can make money there. But I'm just saying, make sure you're aware of the inherent risk. For Tatis collectors, I am genuinely sorry about this. It's a real bummer, especially because who knows if it was intentional or not. I don't want to be the moral police and say it was or wasn't, because he says it wasn't. It was for a ringworm that he had with some ringworm medicine that had this as a side effect. But again, if you think that he could figure this out with his doctor, if he can be taking this or if it has illegal drugs for his profession in them. So no matter what happens, it's a tough day for the sports card market. I would not be surprised if the market as a whole takes a little dip for modern players for a little bit, just because holy cow, it's a shockwave for these people who are spending a lot of money on cards. The Tatis Superfractor from 2016 or 2017, one of those 2-year Bowman Chrome autograph, was offered $2 million to the person holding it. And I have a hard time believing he'll be able to get $2 million for that card moving forward, at least for a while. So make sure you're just being smart. Make sure you enjoy sports cards for the collecting and the investing aspect if you're a pure investor, because you need to enjoy the collecting just in case things like this happen to your guy, because you want to enjoy the cards you're holding. If Zach Greinke over here has issues with steroids, I'm going to be heartbroken, but at least I still like Zach Greinke. I don't mind having his cards in my collection, even if I paid quite a bit for them. So other than that, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this situation, if this changes your mind about modern versus vintage and so forth, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya.